Hello and welcome to Fin Business. We're in conversation with Sunil Sharma. He's the Chief Actuary at Kotak Life Insurance. Sunil, thank you so much for talking to Fin Business.
Thank you.
I would like to take your perspective on how actually actuaries are taking digital at a next level, because everywhere there is a digital revolution, and specifically into finance sector, digital is actually, the headline. Every bank, every insurance company, every finance company is adopting digital like there's no tomorrow. I would like to ask you, to analyze the risk, that is the most important job that the actuaries do at the life insurance companies, what kind of digital activities you are adopting there? So, to be very specific, are you using data analytics? Are you using data science? If yes, how are you actually using it?
I agree with you. I think there is a huge amount of data available out there. Yes. And we are already, if you look at the privatization, the industry has privatized over the last 17 years now. And the data is enormous. So insurance companies must use their data to find out how could they optimize the benefit for the policyholders and also avoid anti-selection from the policyholders and fraud analytics. We at Kotak Life are actually already been doing quite a lot in this direction. We do data analytics. We've been, as a part of the actuarial control cycle, we do significant amount of experience analysis.
Okay.
In terms of the mortality, where the mortality is coming from, the risk profiles of the people and the corresponding mortality, the impact of the profile, various profiles on the persistency, and how do we make sure that the persistency keeps improving, for example. Also fraud analytics.
Right.
So I think, because if you look at the insurance industry, if you are not aware of it, you can get exposed to the frauds from people.
Right.
There are actually some people out there who are actively doing the frauds. So you have to be aware of and use your existing data as to how could you come out with the profiles which are more prone to commit the frauds.
Okay.
And have specialized underwriting or different treatment for those people so that you are less likely to get anti-selected. Okay. So yes, we've been using data analytics significantly in the area of persistency improvements, and even the new opportunities that you find out. People who need more insurance.
So I will take your perspective on the frauds, but before that, since you spoke about persistency, obviously any policyholder who buys the policy has a long-term contract with life insurance industry. But if you look at the persistency, there are policyholders who actually jump from one company to the other company. How actually data science or data analytics helping you to retain that customer? Automatically, then your persistency will go up.
So what we're doing is we're looking at the behavior of the customers.
Okay.
So you can actually link your policyholders' data with their behavior, in the sense then how frequently are they calling the insurance company for checking their fund values, how frequently are they logging in onto the portal to check the fund values. And that actually shows the behavior of the person. The person is more concerned and it looks like more dynamic.
Right.
And is daily looking at his movement in the fund value. And therefore, these people need to be educated, because it's life insurance. It's not like a mutual fund wherein you just look at the NAV every day. It's not share market.
Yeah.
And therefore, those are the people who need more guidance in the form of educating them that it is life insurance, long-term commitment. The investment are made to make sure that over a period you achieve your goal. And it's an insurance, it's a protection that you're getting from the policy.
Yes.
So that is helping us to actually meet the needs of those customers. There are other customers who are more long-term, so they need less intervention and explanation to them. Okay. And that has helped quite a lot in terms of increasing the persistency.
And on fraud side, what kind of analytics do you do to control the frauds, and does it really help? If you could give, if yes, then could you share any case study or any example?
So frauds, if you look at what we do is we do fraud analytics. We got a team which keeps looking at if there is any claims, early claims that have come, whether we've settled it or not settled it. What are the profile of those people who have done the frauds?
Okay.
And so there are, you can actually find out certain risk parameters as to, if the person has got this occupation, this income, this location, this postcode, coming from such background, are more likely to have tendency to have fraud.
Okay.
Then you can actually have more attention to those profiles, and you can actually have your risk control unit to look at those people. You can just go verify, you can call them, or you can also monitor those people. and perhaps the requirement from the sales force could be much more
Okay.
from such profiles.
Okay.
And then you keep looping them again back in your model. You keep learning because the model keeps learning.
Yeah.
And therefore, you again feedback their experience from your risk control unit that, well, you know, these are the profiles which validated and are sure to have frauds, but some of those profiles, the likelihood of fraud is less.
Right.
So then you keep changing your models, and it's an iterative process to keep refining your models. And it's been very successful.
Any example? Because you know it looks interesting, but I'm sure it's very challenging as well, because the first agenda of any company is, okay, I want to sell as many policies as possible, and with a high premium, it's good for the sales team. So, and obviously the person who wants to make a fraud or who's planning to make a fraud will also go for the high premium in policies, because the sum assured will be higher there, right? So how do you actually, you know, see that mismatch? How do you actually, you know, observe the trend? And then if you could share an example or something like that.
I think what I believe is the frauds which usually happens from my experience is that usually happens at the low sum assured, because
that's interesting.
because the underwriting norms are more liberal
Okay.
at low sum assured, and they take advantage of that. You know, say for example 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 7 lakhs. Insurance companies may be a bit liberal in underwriting, so they may be non-medical limits, they may not be, and insurance company may not allocate so much of resources to just underwrite those small ticket size policies. And the fraudulent people may take advantage of that, and you know, get the non-medical limits for people who are likely to die over the next few years.
True.
And so you have to take special care of that, because the challenge is that they're low ticket size. You can't put all your resources on the low ticket size, because you know you are putting all your resources where your top lines are less.
Yeah.
So you have to really strike that balance. So you may like to have slightly more stringent requirements there. So for example, you may like to have real income proof. You may not like to just have, well, okay, just give me your income tax returns or your bank statement, so that you can validate that the insurance is supported by the corresponding income.
Right.
Because you don't want to end up actually someone who just got 2 lakhs of income buying 50 lakhs of insurance.
Yeah. True.
So that's over insurance, and obviously there's a likelihood of you being anti-selected. I haven't seen large sum assureds being anti-selected, because they go through significant due diligence. They have to go through medical underwriting. You have to have real income proof that you have got income to support those premium payments.
Right.
So that usually is less likely.
Okay.
And also, if the sum assureds are large, the reinsurer get involved, and then the whole due diligence is much more stringent.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing those insights.
Thank
Sunil,
you.
thank you so much for talking to Fin Business.
Thank you, Amol.
And thank you so much for watching.